Length times width is the formula for calculating the area of a rectangle. In painting, this two-dimensional area has traditionally been the plane where the image resides. This picture plane can act as the proscenium for a scene, a support for abstract symbols, or, as art critic Harold Rosenberg called it, an area in which to act. A rectangular canvas affords an artist a specific boundary. The edges of the canvas dictate where the image exists. But some artists have found these boundaries to be restrictive. What happens when a painter goes beyond the limits of the rectangle? In the early 20th century, artists were questioning what art was and could be. Some painters rejected linear perspective and abandoned chiaroscuro modeling to create depth. As abstract painting evolved, the picture plane became flattened. This gave rise to an interest in how relationships of the formal elements like line, shape, and color work to create visual language. Ideas about how to participate in, rather than present, the rapidly changing modern world led painting in a more theoretical direction. Color theory, the use of geometry, and experimental ways of handling paint all emerged as new artistic tools. Historically, some artists had used shapes other than a rectangle to paint on. A circular support, known as a tondo, was sometimes used in the Renaissance period, and paintings to adorn altarpieces needed to fit the space of the altar. But in the modern period, artists began to use irregularly shaped canvases as a purposeful artistic device. In 1946, a few South American artists formed the Grupo Madi. These artists began to use shaped canvases and flat geometric surfaces to make paintings that made reference to nothing outside the actual artwork. They called this approach concrete art. In the 1950s, Americans Jasper Johns and Robert Rauschenberg experimented with non-traditional supports for their artwork. Rauschenberg's combines blurred the lines between painting and sculpture. The 1960s were the heyday of the shaped canvas. In Europe and on the two coasts of America, artists using shaped canvases were leading a trend in abstract painting which spanned a number of art movements. Geometric abstraction explored visual phenomena. The sublime beauty of a curve or art as object might be the subject of a minimalist painting. Pop artists used irregular supports to accent their use of the mundane. As painting became more eclectic, artists like Judy Pfaff and Elizabeth Murray used shaped canvases to add to the energy and whimsy of their work. In the postmodern art world, divisions between painting, sculpture, and other genres became less important. New forms and approaches to art are now commonplace. The notion of a traditional art movement where groups of artists pursue a shared theory or ideal is less prevalent today. Nowadays, artists use anything and everything to make art. While once a new and radical approach to painting, using shaped canvases or irregular supports to make paintings has become a normal device many artists employ.